What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of TECspertZ. We have some returning pieces here, some new pieces, and unfortunately some who are not back with us. Let me be careful of how I word this because I screwed this up last time when we tried to make them sound dead. They are not dead. Unfortunately, they are not returning to WZMB or the East Carolinian, so they are not a part of the podcast anymore. But they are still doing well, doing bigger and better things off somewhere else. But we do wish them luck in what they're doing. But we got the new crew here, and before we get started with anything, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves a little bit. My name is Nick Green. I'm the News and Sports Director over at WZMB, and we'll start over here.
My name is Troy McGlone. I am the Sports Editor for the East Carolinian.
I'm Cannon Gates. I'm the Station Manager at WZMB.
And we are the TECspertZ crew, so we're going to be getting together every week talking about ECU football, ECU sports in general. We'll continue this in the spring. We'll just talk about ECU sports. That's our thing. We're experts on ECU sports. There's no finer podcast in the East than the TECspertZ podcast when it comes to ECU sports. But before we get started, we'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsor, The Big Vape Theory, for supporting the TECspertZ podcast and Pirate Media One football coverage, because we could not do this without them. I don't know what the heck I'm saying. I don't know where I was about to go with that. But we had some big news that just happened last week. We just found out last week that Jake Garcia won the quarterback battle against Caden Hauser. He's going to be our starting quarterback here. Guys, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, man, I'm looking very optimistic, especially with the quarterback play that we had last year between Flynn and Mason Garcia last year. And it was just an up and down little thing that we've had, and hopefully this
Up and
experience...
down's a little generous.
Right. There was a complete
generous.
dumpster fire of a situation between pulling guys out and pulling guys in. Hopefully we give Garcia some time, if he doesn't start fast or if he does well, and actually have flow to our offense this year. So I'm totally excited to see Jake when he does.
I'm very excited. I also think with Jake, I think if Caden was the starter, it'd be a little bit more difficult to keep Jake out of that starting job. I think Caden would have a little bit more of a leash on him, I guess you could say, because he does have more years of eligibility than Jake. I think Jake, putting him as starter right now, he is older. He's more experienced when it comes to college. He was a four-star recruit going to Miami, Missouri, two big-time programs. Played a little bit at Miami. Didn't get played at all Missouri, but Missouri had a very good season no one expected. So him coming here, I think it makes sense to put him at the starting job. I like both of them a lot. I was happy with whoever did get the starting spot. I do expect we'll see Caden at some time this season. If we're up a couple touchdowns or anything like that, or hopefully not, but a couple touchdowns down, we'll see Caden. We'll see Caden at some point for sure, a couple times this season. But I do think Caden would have a longer leash on him. So I think it makes more sense to get him some more practice, some more work in.
Absolutely. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Caden Hauser week one.
Exactly.
If we saw him against Norfolk State, I wouldn't be shocked at all. Not saying anything against Norfolk State. I'm not trying to discredit the football program over there. However, we hopefully should beat the crap out of Norfolk State when it comes to week one. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. We're talking about ECU football, though, so who knows?
Right.
Who actually knows?
But
no, I agree with you guys. I think Jake Garcia, I'm incredibly excited that he's going to be our starting quarterback here at East Carolina. Could not be more excited, actually. And I think you're right, Cannon. I think when it comes to this offense, running this offense, when we bring in a guy like John David Baker coming from Ole Miss, he's used to the SEC system. Caden Hauser just came from Missouri, big-time SEC program who had a great season last year. I'm sorry, Jake Garcia, not Caden Hauser. Said the wrong name. I realized. I caught myself. Yes, Jake Garcia, who's used to the SEC program, he's coming in now. I think he's going to click better with John David Baker there, and I think that honestly could have been the reason why he won the job over. We don't know that for a fact. We're just speculating here. But that could have been a big part as to why he ended up winning that job over and why.
It's a big part of our job, speculation.
It's a huge part of our job. We wouldn't be here if we weren't for speculating.
Exactly.
Guess what we're going to be doing all year long? We're going to speculate what we're going to do that next week. We got no idea. So I think that's part of, I think that's a big reason why he ended up getting the starting role here at ECU. And I'm excited about it personally. I'm excited to see what he ends up doing. And for Caden Hauser, I talked a little bit about this just a short few minutes ago when I was on my show on the Food and the Fiddle on WZMB. But if Caden Hauser decides to stay, which I'm praying he decides to stay here at ECU after this year, knowing he's not the starter, but his time will come, I'm praying he stays. I really am. I don't want him to leave. It wouldn't shock me if he hit the transfer portal after this season. I know that's way far in advance, but I hope he stays here because I do see a lot of potential out of Caden Hauser too.
No, I do as well.
Yeah, Hauser's definitely a guy that can, if he waits his turn or if it comes faster than we expect, make some big things happen. He had showed flashes in those few starts
he did,
had at MSU. So hopefully, Hauser, if you'd have us, we'd love to have you as well. Man.
Absolutely. Now we're gonna go ahead and kind of do a kind of quick overview of the entire football season, kind of week by week, what we think, and we're gonna go week by week, see what we think here. I will start off week 1, Norfolk State home opener, August 31st. Gentlemen, what do we think?
You know, I think this is a game that we just got to come out and we just got to lay the hammer down. We got to establish what we want to do all season long, whatever that might be. We really don't know the full extent. I would assume with JDB coming from Ole Miss, we're going to probably see some long balls to Winston Wright, Anthony Smith, Jari Patterson, Chase Sal, whoever it might be, Casey Kelly at the tight end spot. I expect a beat down. I really do. If I don't get a beat down, I'll be kind of sad about it. So.
100%. Norfolk's quarterback, the starter, I believe, is going to be missing that game.
Yeah.
So they
really?
have to back.
Yes.
Yeah, he's
I actually didn't know
suspended
that. Okay.
for some reason.
They're backups then.
Yeah. So that's hopefully a sign that we can hopefully take care of business on
ECU,
home.
please do not ECU this.
Right. Please don't ECU this. We have some questions if we ECU this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to see the passing game get opened up for the first time. So it'd be a good thing to show our fans some optimism of the very trash offense that we had last year in terms of passing. We were one of the worst teams in the NCAA last year, but hopefully being able to get our wide receivers going can help. It doesn't put as much pressure on our running game like it did last year, where basically we couldn't run the ball. We weren't going to be able to win. We had to rely on our defense. So
and it made Raja not look nearly as good
as he was
because of that. Him, but Moreland Gunn will also get some reps.
Javius Bond.
Yes, Javius Bond. I was going to say Javius Bond will get some reps in there.
Love Javius Bond.
Also, the dude we picked up from Penn State. I forget his name. We got a guy from Penn State as well who I think could get some reps in there, especially in the first couple games. Yeah. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. I want to say it's London something, but sorry, London, if that is your name.
So sorry.
But yeah, I that's what I'm most happy about this season, especially from Raja. I think he'll have a big standout year because we'll be able to open the field up. And last year we weren't able to.
Absolutely. Whenever you can develop the passing game as well with the run game, it really helps your offense explode. More than I always say, I think the run game is slightly more important than the passing game because you can throw in some
the game.
Yeah, if you establish the run game, you can throw some play action game. You can throw play action there, make them respect the run game. But I think if you don't have the passing game, who cares? I mean, throw the play action game, fine. You can't hit the target anyway, and that was the problem we had last season. We would throw play action in there, we'd have guys open, and our quarterbacks just couldn't hit the target.
Right.
And it was just awful to see. There was quite a few times where I was watching ECU football last year and had no idea what I was even watching, and just was like, this is just awful.
Yeah.
Like, I love the sport of football. I think it's a great sport. Probably it's my favorite sport. But there were several times last season where I was like, this is terrible football. Like, I feel like I'm watching high school.
Yeah, for sure.
It's awful. So, yeah, I agree. I think Norfolk State, if we don't beat the crap out of them, something's wrong, and that'll be very concerning.
Yeah.
Up next, we got Old Dominion, fellas. What we thinking?
I will say, let's shout back a couple years ago. I think we will win, but shout back a couple years ago, they did upset, I believe it was VT.
They did. It was Virginia Tech.
Yes, I believe it was VT.
It was Virginia Tech.
And they were solid going. People expected them to be good going into that year. But I do think we should be ODU. It is at ODU. I will say that, and it was at ODU when that happened.
It was.
But I do expect us the same way. Well, honestly, not near as bad as Norfolk State, but I will say if we don't handle it pretty easily, I'll be upset with that one as well.
100%. I think it is going to be an interesting game, perhaps closer than we were expecting. Old Dominion did give up a good fight to the James Madison Duke team that went like 11-1 last year. Yeah. It was close. So obviously they've lost most of their talent now because their head coach went to Indiana. But Old Dominion, in terms of what they can do, especially at home, they're not somebody that I'm too looking at the radar and saying, oh, we can look past them and go straight to the app game.
Yeah.
They can make something happen.
That's another reason why I'm scared about it is going into the app game.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it's going to be Greenville there's going to be something down in Greenville that weekend.
If you are not in Greenville, North Carolina, when App State comes to town, you are missing out.
You're missing out.
That game is going to be, So I don't want that to happen.
100%.
If our team's disciplined enough and if Houston's doing right, they won't look past it. Yeah. But that is a typical thing that always goes through your mind when you got a big opponent. It doesn't matter if you're in conference, SEC, ACC, this, FBS or FCS, Division II, Division III, high school football. Doesn't matter. You got a big opponent, that big rival. I don't think we'll be let down, but
I don't think so, but I think you bring up a great point, knowing that App State is that very next game that we could overlook this team, and I hope we don't. Old Dominion's not a team I want to overlook. I think we will learn a lot from our team from the Old Dominion game.
Yeah,
I think we'll learn more from the Old Dominion game than we were the Norfolk State game.
Yes.
Right.
And
I'd
so,
also say that with the App game. I think
yes.
Yeah, because it's a big rival game. You know, it's very tough. A couple things can go wrong and they win. But yeah, you're right about that.
I think the Old Dominion is where we're really going to find out a lot about ourselves, especially knowing we have App State on the road. Not on the road. We have App State at home next week.
Yes.
There's going to be guys in that locker room who that's all they care about.
Yeah.
That's all that's going to be on their mind. Halftime's going to roll around and they're going to be like, all right, we won App State. Especially if,
let's hope this is third stringers. Better thinking that, not the first stringers.
Yeah, you're right. I want the third stringers thinking that. First stringers, please focus on Old Dominion.
Yep.
We can talk about App State on Monday.
Gotta stay locked in.
Saturday, let's just stay locked in.
Yep.
You're right, stay locked in. But let's go ahead and talk about it. I know this is the big game we all want to talk about real quick. App State's coming to town, coming to Greenville, North Carolina. Gentlemen, let's go ahead. What are we thinking?
Ooh, I want revenge, and I think
Oh,
we
me
can
too.
get revenge because
Me too.
even with how bad our offense was last year in the whole, they were in that game for certain aspects of it until things fell off completely in the second half. But we were there, and now hopefully with the improvements that we've done in the offseason to get more blood in with the quarterbacks, more things in with the new offensive coordinator, things hopefully if the things go well, we start out 2-0 and we find our offense clicking. We should be good. I think we could do it. It's not going to be easy, no doubt. We might win by like maybe 3, possibly, but we could possibly beat them.
Honestly,
and I know they're going to be motivated.
I'd want it to be 3. I really do. I want that game to be insane. I want that game to be insane. I don't want to blow them out. I don't think it's going to happen.
Selfishly, I would be completely happy with beating the crap out of App State.
for sure.
Would be completely happy with it.
For
sure.
Listen, I understand what you're saying.
You love interest in football. That's my thing.
But
I
at
love
the same
interest in football.
time, I don't want to be scared to death in the student section like, oh my God, we're going to blow this.
See, another thing, though, as well, is the fact, we're up 3 touchdowns midway through the third. I don't want everyone being like, sit down, enjoy the rest of the game.
No, I don't want-
Just boom, Joey Aguilar, 3 passing touchdowns.
Joey Aguilar's not somebody to mess with.
Joey Aguilar's a dog.
He
He's
is a dog.
He's him.
And let me tell you, App State coming to town, this is the game we're most excited about. I think most of ECU is the most excited about this game, and it's not even close. I think this is one, you're right, revenge would be sweet. I made the trip to Boone last year, and nothing hurt my ego more than watching them storm the field after beating us and then proceed to jump in the duck pond as if we are this huge team that they just beat. That tells me everything I need to know, but they care deeply about beating East Carolina that day. Let me tell you, let's say these booties come to town and let's say we beat the crap. Let's say we win. Actually, not even say beat the crap, but let's just say we win. I'm telling you what, you're going to see a Pirate Nation you haven't seen in a long, long time. And let me tell you, you thought we would have been crazy when if we would have beat NC State.
That year, yep.
Let me tell you, if we could beat App State, you're going to see about the exact same reaction out of the East Carolina Pirates.
I will be jumping in the Tar River that night if we win.
I'll
be jumping in the Tar River.
I'll be swimming the Tar.
Sure
I'll be swimming the Tar River. I'll be on the field. I will probably take the goalpost out of the Dowdy Ficklin and throw it in the Tar River. No. Legally, I'm not doing that. But
We'll condone it, but if it
please,
happens.
I'm not doing that. That will not be me. I'm not committing to this. But there'll be a thought in my head to be like, hey, now wait a minute. Let's take the goalpost, throw it in the Tar River. It'll cross my mind. I'm telling you right now, this place will be rocking if we can beat App State.
But
and I'm excited for it.
realistically, like we said earlier, Joey Aguilar, dog. He's just a straight dog. One of the best group of 5 quarterbacks and top 25, 30 quarterback in the country.
Oh, easily.
From me,
Easily.
personally. But yeah,
Easily.
I think that game is going to. I think, like we said, ODU is going to tell a lot. App is going to give us, show us how do we go all out? How does this team fight? How does this team fight back? How do we get down in the trenches? That type of thing.
Yeah.
ODU is going to show what kind of talent we got, how our offense is going to operate. That type of thing. This app is going to show us how we are as a team, how we fight back together, show who's a dog and who's not. Down in the trenches, out in the secondary, doesn't matter. Who's winning their one-on-one matchups whenever it comes down to it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really what's going to happen in that game is who is going to go out there and fight.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Liberty for a minute. That very next week, we're making the trip to Lynchburg, Virginia. We're going to Liberty.
Well, I just said one thing about Joey Aguilar, one of the best Group of 5 quarterbacks, and Liberty's got the best Group of 5 quarterbacks.
Yes.
Caden
Yes.
Salter is
He's a dog.
he's really good. and it's going to be at Liberty, so it's a little bit different. It's a tough game. Liberty, obviously, they had a great season last year. They returned him. They returned Jamie Chadwell. That's a really freaking good team, and I don't think they lost much from what I know. It's gonna be a tough one. I think that game is another game that will show how will we fight, and that will be a different type of environment. Obviously, you got the support of Pirate Nation behind you against App. This game, you're going to have some Pirates. Pirates travel well. It's in Virginia. It's not far away at all. But it's still going to be against a rival crowd. They're obviously not going to be cheering for you. How are they going to fight against that rival crowd? How are they going to push themselves to the limit? And that's what's going to show in that game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think out of all the schedule, this is gonna be our first loss if we find a way to go 3-0 and beat App. Mainly because the hype of beating App lets up a lot.
Awesome.
Would be huge.
Yeah.
And understandably, going against a team that's as talented as Liberty, right? They could see themselves at this point in the season. They could be ranked, possibly if things go their way.
And Liberty will play App that next week.
Right. So you know what I mean? Like they're a very talented team, and going into Liberty is not going to be easy, right?
Yeah.
I will say, after those, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. After those first 4 games, if we're 3-1, I'm a happy man.
Oh, I'm
compared to last year, absolutely.
I'm incredibly happy.
Obviously, I want us.
That's already more wins than we had last year.
You know,
I want us to beat App, obviously, but if we lose App and beat Liberty.
Right.
It'll hurt, but still.
Right. And if we beat App and lose to Liberty, same thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
that's fine.
I'll be more happy though. I'll be more happy.
I'd be a lot more happy with beating App and losing to Liberty. No
Yeah.
offense to anybody from Liberty. Full offense to anybody from App State. But I'd be much more happy if we can beat App State and lose to Liberty. Much more happy. It wouldn't even be close.
it means more in the
Now,
state
if we're
game.
3-1 and we lose to Norfolk State, what?
Yeah, literally.
What happened week? No, at that point, what did Mike Houston do after week 1 to be like, all right, we're not doing this again? But yeah, no, 3-1 at this point, I'd be incredibly happy there. Up next, we got UTSA. UTSA will be coming to town. What are we thinking?
I will say with UTSA, they do have one of the best Group of 5 head coaches in Jeff Traylor, who's kind of surprised he's not at a Power 5 spot yet. Probably just hasn't found the right opportunity for himself. They lost a lot. They lost American Defensive Player of the Year. And I think with them, right now, it's really hard to tell. I think we can win. It's in Greenville. It's Parents Weekend. It's going to be a big crowd, especially if we're 3-1 and beat App just a couple weeks ago. But with UTSA, it's mainly at the time, it's like, are they going to be 4-0 or are they going to be 1-3? And that's my main thing with them. Right now, I cannot tell you how I feel about that game. I think we can win and we will win. But it's very tough to tell right now because, one, we don't really know who all they brought in, how they're going to play. They lost a lot of guys. How are they rebuilding their team? I think we should win, but it's going to be interesting to tell at that point.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But y'all, correct me if I'm wrong real quick. Do they? I believe they still do have Frank Harris as their quarterback, right?
I would hope not.
Right,
That man
because
is old.
that is what I'm saying. Yeah, right.
He's good.
Right.
Another Group of 5 quarterback who's
That's
insanely
up there.
good.
Yeah.
And I would assume he left. But
Right. Yeah, because last year it was tough. But obviously they had a great defense back then too.
Yeah.
UTSA is still going to be probably up there in the American.
Yes,
and it
for
would
sure.
be a good test for us to see, especially at home, if we can get past them this year. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to play out. I believe we can win that game, especially if we are able to get past either App or Liberty, because it would be a good test to see that. Going forward, and at that point in the season, we know who we have. We know what's going on and what's going to happen, and I think it's possible we could get past UTSA this year for sure.
I think so too. I think you guys both hit the nail on the head on the hammer right there. Throwing a Cannon Gates quote in here, but I think you both are dead on this one. I think UTSA's lost a lot of talent. They really have. However, at the end of the day, with the brilliant head coaching here, and honestly, sometimes it doesn't come down to who's on the field. It's a matter of what can they do. And when you've got good coaching, honestly, sometimes that's going to be just as fine. I expect UTSA to be solid this year. Do I think they're going to win the American? No, that's East Carolina's job.
Right.
But I think they're going to be solid. They're going to be probably top 5 in the American.
I would say that.
I think they're going to be a solid
I'd
team.
argue top 3 probably.
I thought about it, and I was like, let's say top 5 just to be safe.
I'd say if we
I did
beat
say top
UTSA personally, if we can beat UTSA, our schedule, well, we'll get into that.
We'll get into the
we'll
rest
get into
of
it
it.
later. I'll tell you the lies about that
Yeah,
later.
absolutely here. Another opponent who I care deeply about winning. We're on the road to Charlotte that next week. Fellas, what do we think?
If we don't win Charlotte, come on. I know it's at Charlotte, but No, like if we don't beat Charlotte, we lost them 10-7 last year. We were terrible.
That last year loss.
Wow.
I know Charlotte has been giving us a lot of crap because they beat us 10-7 last year.
Right.
That's the worst East Carolina team that you've seen in the past 10 years.
In that game, me and my family, it was because I believe it was parents.
It was Parents Weekend, yeah.
Or no, homecoming. It was homecoming. That's what it was. That game, we left like at halftime just went to go eat and watch it because it was such bad football.
It was awful.
So if we don't beat Charlotte, I'm just gonna be like confused. Yeah.
This one's personal too. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Because the way that they were, as you said, Nick, they were rowdy on Twitter.
Yeah.
Now formerly known, I guess, as X. But yeah, they were chatting a lot for a team
Still are.
Still are. Yeah.
Still are.
They're still on us.
This is not anything new yet.
They
Still are.
got to come to them this year.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? We're not going to have that same slugfest that it was from both sides. And both sides played sloppy in that game.
Both sides sucked.
It was bad from both of them.
Both teams were awful last year, and the fact that they're bragging about that game, I even if ECU would have won that game, I would not be bragging about that win. I'd be like, no, that game was awful. I think that game last year came about one of the best quotes I've heard from ECU football in a long time. I was leaving the game. I think I've told you guys both this story. I might not have. I was leaving the game, and we had just lost 10-7. I was infuriated. I've been very infuriated after that loss. And one of the dads goes, I paid $10 for a ticket, and we can't even put 10 dang points on the board. And I kid you not, I was like, that sums up ECU better than I've ever heard before. That's one of the better quotes I've heard. Hopefully we'll put a lot more than 10 points on the board when we play Charlotte this week. That one's at Charlotte. I will also be making the trip to Charlotte for that game because that's during our fall break.
I believe that's fall break.
So I'll be going to Charlotte for that because I'm going home anyway. I live in a small town outside Charlotte, so I'm going to go to that game. But I'm very excited about that. Up next, a new addition to the American Conference. We got Army. What are we thinking?
I mean, obviously, Army and Navy goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
It's tough to defend, I will say, but we should beat Army. We really should beat Army. I know it's in West Point, but we should beat them. That's all I can really say about it. It's going to be tough to defend, I know. Them and Navy, it's the same way, but we should beat Army.
Yeah.
We should beat Army, but we will not beat Army. And I don't know what it is
and
about us.
Have said that, yes.
Right.
I
Every time we go against a triple option, like obviously Navy's had it on us, but still, it's like, I don't know what happens to our players where we just assume, oh yeah, we've got this in the back because all they're going to do is run for third place. You understand that. Running the ball constantly and finding ways, not only does it demoralize a defense,
it'll drain you.
Right, it drains you. You have to stay on the field, especially if the offense, like last year, couldn't make any plays. You're literally constantly dealing with a situation where Army's just going to run down your throat. And Army has done it to better teams as well in the last year as well. So it wasn't like it was just ECU couldn't cover them. They're a formidable offense against anyone. So it's I want to say if it was home, I think we would win, but I feel like they're gonna find a way to beat us in West Point.
Yeah, I've seen a lot about that people were like who were high on ECU football this year that Army would be one of like 2 or 3 losses.
It'd be one of them. I can see that. I can see that a lot. I hope that we'd be better than that.
Please.
But that would be one of the losses. I can just sit there and I can see it happening, and I don't disagree with your analysis on that one. Up next, we got Temple.
Homecoming, home. It's gonna be feeling great in Greenville at that time. October 26th is the day. We should be Temple as well. Another team that I'm not worried about necessarily, but we should beat them. Yeah.
Yeah, Temple isn't the same as they've previously been in the past. I think this is a game that will get it, especially during homecoming. Man, especially if we do lose that game against Army, I think they'll want to be about that. They'll be motivated to go, So yeah, we should take care of them.
Absolutely. I don't know much about Temple, to be honest with you guys, but I will tell you.
That's the reason why I'm saying we should win.
I don't know much about them. But
them.
the fact that I don't know much probably tells me that they're not something I've got noteworthy. That I'm like, could be wrong. I mean, we might be looking back at this in about a month and be like, holy crap, Temple's undefeated.
Right.
Like, what
did
happened?
2 weeks before game,
I could be very wrong, but I haven't heard a lot from Temple. I don't know much about them to be completely
The only thing I know is that they play in the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium. That's the only thing I know.
And so, I mean, Temple's coming to town. They beat us a few years ago. I think, Temple, I'm not super concerned about Temple, to be honest with you. I think we'll beat them here at home. Up next, one of the teams we actually beat last year, one of the 2 wins we had, Florida Atlantic.
Thursday night football game in Greenville. I love our annual Greenville Thursday night football game. I love it. I love it.
It's great.
I would expect. We beat them last year. We were terrible.
Yeah.
I would not assume they brought back much, and I wouldn't assume they brought in much. I would assume another win too. And I'm not gonna lie. I could see if we have a not necessarily like great season on record wise, I think we should finish out the season like 5-1 still, and it would not be a necessarily great season. But yeah, I think we should win.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we should be able to take care of FAU, especially if we beat them at our worst. We should definitely beat them at a much better team this year. Just real quick note as well, we're honoring the 1998 team. Appreciate y'all for what y'all have done against UTSA. That's going to be a huge game for that as well. But yeah.
Good shout out there. Good shout out. I respect that one. Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. If we can beat them last year, I'm not super worried. They're probably going to want revenge because they looked awful last year.
Yeah.
And we beat them in their home field.
Right.
So they're probably going to want revenge on that one. But I think we're just a much better team in general. I think it doesn't get much better than that. Up next, we got Tulsa on a nationally televised game.
Thursday night game as well. If I'm not mistaken, we lost to them last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I want to make because Gardner Webb and FAU were 2 wins. They had a freshman quarterback last year, and he looked pretty good, if I remember correctly.
He looked good.
He looked good, and I believe he was a freshman last year. The thing is with Tulsa, I know they don't give NIL money out. So their talent is not nearly as good as ours. It's just, are they going to play better and coach better and that type of thing. We should win, but it's at Tulsa. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
Yeah. I do believe, like you said, that we should be able to take care of this game. Just failing this fact that we're a little bit better, and then also they don't have as many players. But Tulsa, and also they haven't been as good as they were in the past. But I do believe that we should be able to take care of that win and get us farther. I believe, if I'm correct, that would leave us, at least in my prediction, I think like with 8 or 9 wins, and that's solid compared to where we've been. I think it would be the most we've had in a while. So
It'd
yeah,
be huge to come back from that. Like that'd be awesome if we could come back from last year to this where we are this year. No, I agree with you guys. I agree with your analysis on that. I think Tulsa, like you said, they got a good quarterback, and I'm very curious to see how he develops. But at the same time, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I mean, it's just we're playing Tulsa. Up next, we got North Texas.
They're not as good as they've had been the last couple of years, I will say. I believe they've lost like their head coach kind of recently, maybe not this past season, but season before. And I think we should handle business, but it's in Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, and that means the crowds too. So
we lost to Rice last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. So I think it'll be a low key, a tough one. I will say that's probably my most like low key this game. I wouldn't get your hopes up necessarily. I would say on that.
Yeah, this game could be definitely a little bit more closer, for sure, because that spread offense that North Texas run is pretty decent. You know what I'm saying? They know how to air it out, and if we're not prepared, they could do some early damage on us. I do think that we should be able to sneak past them, though, mainly because I think we'll adjust. Once we get hit with it once, get hit with the haymaker early in the first half and then come back in the second half, we'll probably be able to edge them out there, especially on the road in Texas. So I think we will win that game.
Yeah. Absolutely. Last but certainly not least, we got our kryptonite. We got Navy.
And it's the same thing as Army, as I said earlier, and even tougher. And also, I think another reason why I think North Texas will be low-key tough, I think people will be looking ahead to that Navy game.
Yeah.
Last game of the season. Hopefully not last game of the season.
Hopefully not the last game.
But American Conference, let's hope not the last game of the season either, because let's hope we're in the championship. But Navy, it is going to be a tough one. It will always be a tough one. It's in Greenville. I hope as many people can be there as they can. I know it's Thanksgiving break around that time. But that's going to be a tough one. It always is. We should come out if we're, I think we will be, but that's one of the tougher ones.
Yeah, for 100%. If you're in Greenville during that weekend, please come out. We definitely could use you guys against Navy. And we've seen what Navy's been able to do with us in the past. They are, I believe they will be a top 5 team as well, sneaking up on them in the AAC and finding a way to win. And same thing that we would have to deal with Army. I think we actually win this game because we get to see a little bit against Army, and it's at home this time. That we can get that revenge and actually beat Navy this time, especially because you finally see how the option works.
We're a little more used to it now. No, I agree. I think we're gonna. I couldn't agree more. I think the fact that we have to play one of these teams twice, we're playing both of them the same year. I think we lose the first time, win the second time.
Yeah.
And I think the first time it's just kind of like, okay, what the heck is this? Even though we know exactly what we're going up against, everybody knows it. You're gonna look at it and be like, what the heck is this? And then we're gonna see Army or we're gonna see Navy at the end of the year. Be like, okay,
we got this.
We've seen this once already.
Yeah.
Let's do it again. So before we end this episode, one thing we're going to try and do more of is more predictions on here. We're going to keep track of the predictions a little bit. So, gentlemen, last but not least, what do you think ECU's record is going to be into this upcoming football season?
Should I get my ceiling and my floor?
No, you have to give one.
Shoot for stuff.
I will go right in the middle then, and I will say 9-3.
Okay.
I will go right in the middle. Yeah.
My heart wants to tell me that I think we could hit double digits.
I can as well.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I know I talked a little bit about North Texas being tougher, but I think the two losses we'll suffer is Army early, and then we most likely will lose possibly either against hopefully not App, but either App or Liberty.
And I
depending on what
would
happens.
assume it would be, me personally, Liberty, Army, or I think North Texas. Like I said, I think that will keep it.
I think North Texas.
And I want to go. I want to say 10-2 so bad.
So
I want to
bad.
say 10-2 so bad. It's just like you said earlier. We might ECU our way out of a football game.
Yeah.
I expect it to happen in this
And
one.
honestly, I think 9-3 we can make the championship.
100%.
I think
Oh,
9-3
easily.
can
Oh,
make
yeah,
the
yeah,
championship.
absolutely.
Because, like we said, that's me personally. 2 American losses. You said 1.
Yeah, right.
So I really think we could get in there and be against Memphis probably. So
Yeah. What'd you say the record?
I said 10-2.
10-2?
With the 2 losses,
Okay.
against Army, and then either. I'm gonna, for the sake of it, I'll say Liberty as well. I think
Okay.
we will beat App this year.
Well, then, for the sake of the video, I'm not gonna pick. I'm gonna pick 8 wins, 8-4. For
Yeah.
the sake of the video, I think we're gonna go 8. I think we'll lose one of either App State or Liberty for sure. I think we lose Army. I think we lose North Texas, and then I think we're gonna ECU our way out of one other game. Who knows what that game will be? We're gonna ECU our way.
we'll
game.
pick one. Nick. Pick one which you
Yeah,
think we're
out
going
of
to
all the ones we got. Which one?
I got one personally.
Tulsa.
I was
Tulsa?
going to say Tulsa. I was going to say Tulsa.
Tulsa.
Yep.
Yep.
I think Tulsa will be.
Yeah, and I agree with you there, Nick. I
I
do.
think that's gonna be the.
If that is the game we ECU our way out of,
That's gonna
it
be
would
the
be
one.
Tulsa.
It's gonna be
And I
Tulsa.
agree with that. Yep.
All right. Well, gentlemen, any closing thoughts and closing remarks?
Go Jake Garcia. Go ECU football. I'm trying to think. Oh, Memphis versus ECU, American Athletic Championship. Book it December 6th.
Would be electric.
I'm there for it.
Yep.
I'm there for it. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's episode of TECspertZ. We'll be recording this every single week, so stay tuned for future episodes. Until next time, go Pirates.